Welcome to the Coming Inside Out podcast. I am your host, Brian James, along with my co-host, Mark Dembo. Hello, Mark. How are you today?
Hey, Brian, I am good. As you can hear, I'm still a little bit hoarse. I've been fighting this horrible cold ever since I came back from LA. I don't know, maybe it was the sign I should have stayed in LA, but
Yeah, you should have stayed in
doing
LA.
well.
You should have
Yeah.
stayed in LA. And we apologize because we've been missing our listeners for like the last 3 weeks. We couldn't record 1 week. Some person ran into some electric box on the corner of my street the following week when we're going to record.
Oh, that's right. I forgot about that. Right.
And then you've been sick with laryngitis. So
yes,
here we are.
Yeah. Here we are. I know. Speaking about LA, I had such a great time when I was out there in Los Angeles. And our original goal had been to record together. We just didn't have the time. It just got too busy. And we decided it was far more important to go out with all the gay dads in LA and to have a fun night out in WeHo than to sit and record a podcast, right?
Yes,
so
I agree.
I think we made the good decision. It was a lot of fun, and it was great to see you and so many other guys out there.
Yes, I agree. It was more important for us to get together and just meet with this amazing group of men out here in LA and have a good time with them. So here we are.
Yeah, and it's Pride Month. And here we are, this episode dropping on June 1st for Pride Month. So happy Pride, Brian, and to everybody.
Happy Pride. I'm wearing my Circus of Books Pride shirt. And you're wearing your Pride shirt too.
I'm wearing although this is actually Pride from 2024, right? And there we go. But the message is still really important. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I've got my new Pride. Wow. I've got my new Pride apparel that I will actually am saving for actual Pride events. So
it's gonna debut at your Pride events.
Exactly.
Speaking of Pride events, I shared some emails with you about Pride 2025 and how, in particular, the New York City Pride currently is operating at a $750,000 deficit because they've lost so many of their key sponsors, which is crazy and sad.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know if we want to call anybody out, but, there's some big players who've been sponsoring the Pride Parade for many years that this year have decided that they're going to taco out.
Yes. Yes. Okay. Not to mention anybody by name.
Yes.
Yeah. But we don't want to put a target on anybody's back or anything like that.
Yes.
But and I know we talked a little bit about this on one of our previous episodes, with obviously everything going on in the political landscape and the loss of DEI programs. There's certainly been that corporate backlash, and it's very unfortunate to see so many organizations that have been allies, been supporters, been out there, just, kind of pull back. And look, I hope the pendulum will swing back. The other, I wonder in some ways though, because there's also been criticism of the commercialization of Pride, right? It's just become, go to so many Pride events, and it just becomes, it's all corporate, corporate sponsors and people showing off, trying to show off, oh, look what great allies we are. So in maybe some ways it does bring Pride back to its roots. Let's remember, Pride started as a protest.
Yes.
After the Stonewall riots. And I do think it's more important than ever. Yes, we want to go and celebrate, but to remember the difficulties, the challenges that LGBTQ people have had to fight for so many years. And
Yes.
we're seeing so many things in jeopardy right now.
It's sad. It's a sad time. And and then we had a couple weeks ago, when we were going to record, we had the Palm Springs bombing. And for me personally, I just thought, wow, how susceptible are people at these parades now? I mean, you had exposure beforehand, but I just personally worry about safety and very large gatherings, especially when there's so many unhinged people out there right now. So
yeah, I mean, I think everybody has to, you've got to be careful, right? You've got to know your surroundings. But it is interesting. I mean, there's so much that there seems to be this invitation, if you will, for people to say what before might have been the unspoken.
yes.
I'll give you an example. Right here, where I am, I live outside of New York City, in Westchester County. And tomorrow, or actually, well, today, when this podcast is dropping, June 1st, is we're having our local Pride event tomorrow. So it kicks off, Pride. New York City big Pride event is at the end of the month. So, and I plan to go tomorrow, being meeting with a number of friends there. And it has always been supported by the county government here. And it's put on in cooperation with with the Loft, which is a big LGBTQ center here in Westchester County. But I was looking at a post that the county government had made about Pride and celebrating Pride, and some of the comments, the
Isn't that
hateful
crazy?
comments
Yes, for no reason.
on,
For no
yeah,
reason.
yeah,
It's like if it
yeah,
resonates with you, great. If it doesn't, move on.
then move on,
It's
move
like
on.
move
Right,
on. Yes,
right,
it's crazy. It's
exactly.
absolutely crazy. And so
Yeah, yeah.
you had an article that you were going to read.
Yeah, so I just happened to come across this. This was published in LGBTQ Nation, which is an online news source for
Yes.
LGBTQ plus news. But they were reporting on a survey that was done by the Pew Research Center. And I just thought it was fascinating. The headline: most LGBTQ plus people knew their identities before age 14, but they hid it for years.
That was me.
I just
Hmm.
thought that resonate. I mean, here we are, right? And our podcast and uh, both of our personal situations of coming out later in life. And we, again, we've talked a bit about this, the question of, well, when did you know you were gay?
Yes. For me, because I talked to some of these men and they're like, oh, I didn't discover I was gay or I didn't realize I was gay until I was 30 or 40 or 50 or whatever. I knew I was gay before I knew what gay was. That makes
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
sense.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
then,
absolutely. Of course.
and because I didn't know what gay was when I was obviously gay as a child, it turned into just confusion. Like, who the fuck am I? And then that
Yeah.
confusion just like snowballed. And, I was 47 years old before I came to the realization, like, holy fuck, this is what's been going on in my life. And I guess my aha moment was at 47.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. And I think, and I find even when you peel back the layers of the onion, right, talking to other men who have come out later in life, and saying, yeah, I didn't realize it. I didn't recognize it. I mean, if I reflect on my own experience, to an extent, that is how I felt. But then when you start to really look at it, it's like, well, no, wait a minute. I didn't embrace it until a much later point in my life. But if I look back, what you were just saying, Brian, it's like I knew I knew I was different. I knew I felt different before I even had a label for it.
Mm-hmm.
And then maybe when I started to understand the label, I wouldn't allow myself to attach to that label. And I just, again, everybody's experience is different, but I've hear similar themes from so many people. And I think just seeing this study really talking about that, I mean, just they talk about half or more of LGBTQ adults say they first felt that they might be gay, lesbian, bisexual, or trans before age 14, but very few said they had told somebody by that age. And I won't go into all the, we can actually post the link to this article in our show notes, certainly. But I just thought it was so fascinating because it points out to even for those that come out maybe when they're in their late teens or in their early 20s, they still knew for a long time. And so, for so many of us, it's just that delay was even longer.
Yes.
But there's still this knowing at an earlier age for so many people.
Yes. Somebody wrote in, well, they didn't write in, they posted on YouTube, and we both saw that post. And it was, I think this kind of goes along with it. The person, I'm not going to read their exact post, but it was basically how we are acting so brave now. But yet we were hiding the entire time that men and women were fighting for the LGBTQ plus community. And now that we're out, we're acting brave. And
Yeah.
there's never been a moment during this podcast where I've been out here telling anybody how brave I was. My point to that is it's never too late to fight for your cause. It's never too late to stand up. It's never too late to come out. It's never too late to take a stance. It's never too late to show your support. So, I really didn't understand his post and our hiding. Just didn't make sense.
Yeah, I saw that as well, and my reaction was, I think there is a certain population of people, right, that came out earlier and could feel like, well, wait a minute, and I think this is kind of what this person was saying is, where were you when we had a fight, through the AIDS epidemic and to get, gay rights. And now when we're in a different environment, although you could argue the environment right now is not so great for the LGBTQ plus population, but, that where were you when? So on one level, I can understand that. On the other hand, to your point, right, coming out is an act of bravery. It takes courage. It's scary no matter when you do it.
Yes.
So, while I can understand his feeling, I don't think that you or I or anybody else that's in this position, I mean, I know we're certainly not here saying, oh, look at us. Aren't we better than others? Or, oh, aren't we courageous and others aren't? That's not the point. It's to say it's okay no matter when you come out. And it's better to be able to do it at any stage. So,
yes.
Yeah, I
100% agree. You brought up, I think you said LGBTQ Nation as a news source. And I also put on our talking points advocate.com and out.com. Mm-hmm. I go on all three of those sites pretty much every week. More than once a week, just to get news. So anybody out there who's looking for good news sources to look at articles or what's going on in the community, advocate.com, out.com, and LGBTQ Nation. Those are, I rely on those for news.
Yeah, and no, I do as well. Sorry, go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say, and in looking at those sites, I think it was last week or the week before. I don't know this person personally, but I know that there was a lot of posting about it. The gentleman Colton Ford, he's a porn star. Mm-hmm. He died in a hiking accident at the age of 62 outside of Palm Springs. So
Yeah.
I've said before, I'm not, I've watched porn, but it's not like I watch it to the point where I know all of the actors' names.
You sure about that? I don't know, Brian. I think you're hiding something here. Is it like,
Exactly.
what are the posters up on the walls of your
Yeah,
bedroom?
exactly. Yeah. My Colton Ford
Who are you looking
poster,
at night when you're,
darn it.
falling off to sleep? Yeah.
And when I was looking at, I think it's advocate.com, I saw, we're all familiar with Sniffies. We're all familiar with the apps, the Grinder app, the, what's the other one called? The Grinder app and the Scruff app.
Scruff. Yeah.
There's a website, sniffies.com.
Sniffies. Yep.
But Sniffies now has an app. I don't know if you saw that or not, but they came out with an app.
I did. Yes.
People uploaded the app, and then the app was removed from Apple. And it was removed because there was ongoing content restriction violations. So I guess they're figuring a way to work around that and get some.
Well, and my understanding, right? Because if on Grindr, you cannot have a dick pic as your profile pic. You cannot have nudity or frontal nudity.
Only
certainly.
As your profile pic, or
as your profile picture. You cannot on either Scruff or Grindr have any kind of frontal nudity.
But that could be your second.
You can share. You can have private albums where you share whatever you want, but in anything that is public facing, right? So if people are going to see your profile, Sniffies always operated on on the website. If you've not that I've ever been on any of these, yes. I've heard supposedly. Sniffies is much more. When you go on Sniffies on the web app, what you see is a grid of who's near you, and it pops up, and mostly it's pictures of people's dicks.
Yes, or butts.
That's because Sniffies is really the hey, I want to find a hookup right now. And so I think the problem they were running into on the web app was that there was, even though I do believe they said you have to have not an NSFW, an SFW, suitable for work, photo on your profile. There was a lot of, not suitable for work photos that were being posted, and that's where they were getting into trouble for the content violations.
I got you. I didn't know that. Okay, good to know. Well, for anybody who wanted to get Sniffies on an app, it is out and coming back. So once they work out the kinks, I guess they'll be putting it back on line. And I wanted to share another article that I read was that, I don't know if you saw this, but I actually saw this. I saw it on the news that in Yosemite a couple weeks ago, they hung a 55 by 35 foot transgender flag on El Capitan. Did you see that? I thought that was amazing. Good.
I did.
For them.
I'd read about that. Yeah.
I'm sure it's been taken down since then, but in the moment, I loved it.
Yep. But of course, in the meantime, the battle goes on as far as transgender individuals being able to serve in the military and so on, and all that kind of craziness keeps continuing. And but it's good to see those kinds of acts still happening and people taking action. And again, it comes back to all the more important while we are not just in Pride Month, but Pride Month is really an opportunity to heighten right now the assault that we as a community are under, from serving in the military to cuts that this new, the new spending bill will have dramatic cuts in that affect the LGBTQ population.
Yes.
They're talking about cutting HIV research funding. I mean, it's let's roll back the clock in so many ways is what's happening, and it's absolutely terrible.
I sent you a Instagram post or reel this morning. I don't know if you had a chance to look at it or not, but it was a woman talking to, I think it was her teenage kids and friends about, if you voted for Trump, you voted for the candidate that was supported by the KKK. If you voted for Trump, and she like ran off all of these, you voted for hate, you voted against the LGBTQ community. And she just went on, and it was like, absolutely. It's like, I know we've talked about this before. I know that some people have written in, they're part of the log cabin Republicans, or they're the gay community that voted for Trump. But it's every day that passes, I just find it harder and harder to understand how these people supported that candidate. It's
Absolutely. And and you know what? Look, I'm not gonna people supported who they supported in the election. I think my point right now is, if you are a member of the LGBTQ plus community, you have to really take a close, hard look at the kinds of policies and the rhetoric that is coming out of this administration and say, is this supporting the community? Is this going to help individuals, or is this going to harm individuals? And the fact, you know what? Don't say to me, "Well, Trump has gay guys in his cabinet." They are no friends of the LGBTQ plus community.
Yes.
Just because they're gay does not mean they're supporting the community at large. So you got to ask yourself that question. If, however you voted, because you voted and you thought that was the right thing at the time, okay. But it's like, don't double down. It's okay to say, wait a minute, what I thought I was voting for, is not what's happening.
Yeah, like all the farmers.
It's okay.
They were voting,
it's okay.
They thought they were
exactly.
voting for.
Right.
Well, listen, I'm going to pivot for a moment. You and I have some similarities. We're both on like a healing journey. We both meditate, we both journal. I think you do breath work. I do breath work. It's like, I do stuff to promote being a healthier person, and every day waking up and being the best version of myself. I was watching a video about, a week ago or so, and it was 6 questions to ask yourself. These 6 questions, you're in a room, you're asking your child self, your teenage self, your young adult self, the broken version of you, the version of you that wore a mask, the future version of you. You were in this room asking these 6 questions to yourself. These 6 questions were so profound for me. And I spent a couple days going over these and journaling, and just really kind of getting to a deeper understanding of myself. And I thought, wow, I want to share this on the podcast for anybody else who's on a healing journey. And the first question you ask all these versions of yourself is, what do I need to hear right now? What does the 6-year-old Mark need to hear right now? What does the masked Mark need to hear right now? What is the broken Mark? What do you need to hear right now? And just sit and listen, and, let whatever comes to you, come to you. And just, it was very healing for me. Number 2, what have you been carrying for so long? And who actually asked you to carry it? Who made you carry whatever you carry it? I'm not going to go through everything I wrote, but what I wrote, what I put together at the end was, I was carrying a survival backpack is what I was carrying. It was my survival backpack that I put on myself. But question number 3, if I fully trusted that everything worked out, what would I do next? What would you do next if you just trusted that this whole process of coming out, or maybe struggling, thinking I can't come out to my family. I have to live a closeted life for the rest of my life. If everything worked out, what would you do? Number 4, what version of you have you been ignoring? For my and I'll answer this one just briefly. I have done so much work on myself, healing my past, healing my child self, healing everything, that I remember throughout my life that scarred me. Who I've been ignoring the most is my future self. I don't give my future self any attention because I've spent so much time healing Brian.
Another thought that comes to mind on that too. How much do we ignore our present self?
Yes.
Like,
Yes.
we talk about, right? You meditate. Meditation, it's all about being in the moment. And you can't change the past. We don't know what's going to happen in the future. All we have is right here, right now. And if we're constantly trying to live either in the past or plan for the future, we miss right now.
Yes.
And saying whatever is happening right now is okay.
Yes. Yes. Live in the moment. 100%.
Yeah.
Number 5, what have I been afraid to say out loud? And once you discover what it is that you've been afraid to say out loud, say it out loud. I was 47 years old when I finally first said, I'm fucking gay.
Mm-hmm. Gay. Yeah.
What have you been afraid to say out loud? And number 6, what does the version of you that already made it refuse to tolerate anymore that you today continue to tolerate? And why do you tolerate it? If the future you isn't going to tolerate something, why is the current you tolerating it today?
Yeah.
So anybody who's working on themselves, I'll post these in the show notes. I think these are 6 just profound questions to really sit with, to help discover what you're going through, where you're at, and how to move forward and heal.
And each one of those in and of itself, really very, very powerful. Very powerful.
Yeah. And to ask your masked self, to ask your broken self, not just, oh, I'm healing my inner child, but to ask all the versions of you. I thought, wow, this is, I have to sit with this. And I have to think, okay, how many different versions of Brian are there? How many different versions of Mark are there? It's like to discover the need of all of them was a lot, but it was well worth it.
Yeah. Yeah. And all those different parts, right? I mean, there's psychology theories. There's this whole parts, theory and mode of psychology that kind of recognizes, and I'm going to butcher it, so I'm not even going to try and describe what they all are, but it's but we have all these different parts, and it's if we think about how do we try and integrate all those parts of ourselves, like for me, I've been reflecting quite a bit recently on my journey, as we've talked about, right? I just recently moved into my own place. I'm just here a month now, fully into my own place. But over the past month, there's also been, so there's this brand new chapter for me. That's exciting in so many ways. And then there's what you're leaving behind. And, yesterday, we have moved out of the house that we lived in for 20 years, essentially the house that my kids grew up in. I walked out of that house yesterday doing some final, cleanup and everything there, probably for the last time.
Yeah.
And, we kind of talk about, this journey and how do we bring all these things together. And I was in the moment. It was very emotional. I mean, much more so than I expected it to be, because, but recognizing on the one hand, the finality of it and what was being left behind But at the same time, this lightness and happiness about what I'm moving towards, and recognizing that these things can coexist. You know, both of these things can be true at the same time.
Yes.
And how do we learn to sit with that?
And do you allow yourself to sit with it? Or you go out and find a hookup and,
Right.
fuck your way through
Right.
it? Or do you allow yourself
Right.
time to sit with it? So, I think,
Right.
there's people do their own thing, how they're going to do it. But, what percentage of people actually sit with this or have the introspect that you have about the finality of closing the door and walking away?
Yeah.
I agree. Wow.
Yeah. Well, those are great. I mean, those are great questions. I really want to kind of go back and reflect on those some more, because I think it's I find that the more time we can take for all of that, it's part of the journey. It's part of the healing. It's saying again, how do we kind of bring all these things together in our lives?
Yeah, and if anybody wants to write in, if anybody, goes back, writes anything about any of these, email us, cominginsideout@gmail.com. We're not going to read your name. We're not going to announce your email address. Everything's that comes into us is we can take it, privately. So, and if you would allow us to share it, just write in the email, hey, happy to have you share this on the podcast, and we'll read your responses.
Yeah.
Part of what you were just saying about, leaving your house, and you really haven't, I don't think you spoke that much about being in your new space and your new life and, what you have coming forward. But as part of a support group, you and I, as gay fathers, men married to women with children, we belong to Gay Fathers Worldwide. And if you are not somebody who fits that criteria, we have Coming Inside Out, which is also a private Facebook group. So if you are a gay individual, or, you adopted your kids, or you were never married to a woman, or whatever, that's also a group that you can join. You shared on Gay Fathers Worldwide. I've shared on Gay Fathers Worldwide. We'd be happy to have you share on our Coming Inside Out Facebook page also.
Yeah, so, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Something I was going to bring up. I saw yesterday a trailer on ABC. It's a new docu special out late to the party